Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The scorching summer sun beat down mercilessly on the crowded beach. Laughter and chatter filled the air as beachgoers splashed in the cool waves, built sand castles, and lounged on colorful towels. Amidst the sea of sunbathers, Beckham stood out like a sore thumb, quite literally. His fair skin, usually hidden beneath loose t-shirts and baggy jeans, had turned an angry shade of red. The swimsuit he'd reluctantly donned at his friend's insistence now felt like a cruel joke, accentuating the stark contrast between his lobster-like torso and the pale skin that had been shielded by the fabric. "I told you to reapply sunscreen," Lena chided, her bronze skin glistening with a mix of seawater and tanning oil. She tossed her long, dark hair over her shoulder, fixing Beckham with a sympathetic look. Aileen sprawled out on a beach towel nearby, propped herself up on her elbows, her freckled face scrunched up in a mix of amusement and concern. "Oh, Beck, you're gonna feel that tomorrow." Beckham's cheeks flushed an even deeper red, though it was hard to tell beneath the sunburn. He fumbled for his discarded t-shirt, wincing as the fabric brushed against his tender skin. "I'm fine," he muttered, avoiding eye contact with both girls. "You don't look fine," Lena pressed, reaching out to touch his arm. Beckham flinched away, embarrassed by his own reaction. "Just drop it, okay?" he snapped, immediately regretting his harsh tone. "Sorry, I think I'm gonna head home." Aileen sat up fully now, her brow furrowed with worry. "At least let us walk you back. You really don't look good, Beck." Beckham shook his head, already gathering his things. "Thanks, but I'll be all right. See you guys later." As he trudged across the hot sand, Beckham could feel their concerned gazes boring into his back. He quickened his pace, desperate to escape the beach and the humiliation that clung to him like the grains of sand on his feet. The walk home was torture. Each step sent jolts of pain through his sunburned skin, and the stares from passers-by only added to his discomfort. By the time Beckham reached his front door, he was close to tears. "There you are," his mother's voice rang out as he stepped inside. "How is the Oh, sweetie. What happened?" Beckham tried to brush past her, but she caught his arm, her eyes widening at the sight of his lobster-red skin. "I got sunburned," he mumbled, stating the obvious. His father appeared in the doorway, letting out a low whistle. "Looks like someone forgot their sunscreen. You're as red as a tomato, son." The attempted humor fell flat, and Beckham felt his throat tighten. "Can we not do this right now? I just want to go to my room." His mother's expression softened. "Of course, honey. I'll bring you some aloe vera in a bit." Beckham nodded gratefully and retreated to the sanctuary of his bedroom. He carefully peeled off his shirt, wincing at the sight of his reflection in the mirror. The contrast between his burned skin and the pale lines where his swimsuit had been was stark and mortifying. As he gingerly applied aloe vera to his tender skin, Beckham made a silent vow. Never again would he allow himself to be so exposed, so vulnerable. From now on, he'd stick to loose, covering clothes, no matter the temperature. The next few weeks passed in a blur of peeling skin and constant discomfort. Beckham declined every invitation to hang out, making excuses about summer reading or chores. He ignored the concerned text messages from Lena and Aileen, unable to face them after his embarrassing meltdown at the beach. Instead, Beckham retreated into himself, spending long hours in his room. It was during one of these solitary afternoons that he found himself absently scrolling through social media, his attention caught by a photo of a group of friends at a pool party. What struck him wasn't the smiling faces or the sparkling water, but the variety of swimwear on display. One person in particular caught his eye. They wore a flowing, colorful cover-up that seemed to both conceal and accentuate their figure. Beckham's fingers hovered over the image, a strange feeling stirring in his chest. He'd never considered that there might be options beyond the standard trunks he'd always worn, options that could provide coverage while still allowing him to participate in summer activities. Before he could talk himself out of it, Beckham found himself searching for similar styles, his screen filled with images of flowing caftans, delicate sarongs, and elegant swim dresses. Each item seemed to offer a tantalizing promise of both protection and freedom. Heart pounding, Beckham clicked on a simple black swim dress. The model wore it over a one-piece swimsuit, the fabric draping elegantly to mid-thigh. Without allowing himself to overthink it, he added it to his cart and completed the purchase. The days until the package arrived felt interminable. Beckham jumped at every sound, terrified that his parents would intercept the delivery and demand an explanation. But when the plain brown box finally appeared on his bed after school one day, he breathed a sigh of relief. With trembling hands, Beckham opened the package. The fabric was softer than he'd imagined, flowing like water through his fingers. He hesitated for only a moment before stripping down to his underwear and slipping the dress over his head. The transformation was instant. The loose fabric skimmed over his body, concealing the parts he'd always felt self-conscious about, while somehow making him feel more confident than he'd ever felt in swim trunks. Beckham turned slowly in front of the mirror, marveling at how the dress moved with him. For the first time since the sunburn incident, Beckham felt a glimmer of excitement about the possibility of returning to the beach or the pool. He imagined himself wading into the water, the dress billowing around him like a protective cocoon. But as quickly as the fantasy formed, reality came crashing back. What would his parents say? His friends? The thought of the stares and whispers he'd inevitably face made his stomach churn. With a heavy sigh, Beckham carefully folded the swim dress and tucked it away in the back of his closet. He wasn't ready to face the world in it yet, but knowing it was there, a secret possibility, gave him a strange sense of comfort. As summer faded into fall, Beckham's sunburn became a distant memory, but the impact of that day lingered. He continued to wear loose, covering clothes, even as the temperature dropped. His friends noticed the change, their concern evident in the worried glances they exchanged when they thought he wasn't looking. It was Lena who finally broached the subject one crisp October afternoon. The three of them, Beckham, Lena, and Aileen, were sprawled on the floor of Lena's bedroom, ostensibly studying for an upcoming history test. "Beck," Lena began hesitantly, setting aside her textbook. "Is everything okay? You've been different since that day at the beach?" Beckham tensed, his grip tightening on his pen. "I'm fine," he mumbled, not meeting her eyes. Aileen scooted closer, her voice gentle. "We're worried about you. You hardly ever hang out anymore, and when you do, you're always covered up like you're afraid of the sun or something." The concern in their voices made Beckham's throat tighten. He wanted to brush off their worries, to insist that everything was normal, but the weight of his secret felt suddenly unbearable. He started, then faltered. How could he explain the turmoil of the past few months? The shame of his sunburn, the unexpected awakening of desires he didn't fully understand? Lena reached out, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "You can tell us anything, Beck. We're your friends." The sincerity in her eyes broke something loose in Beckham's chest. Before he could stop himself, the words came tumbling out. "I bought a swim dress," he blurted, immediately wishing he could take it back. A moment of stunned silence followed his confession. Beckham braced himself for disgust or ridicule, but when he finally gathered the courage to look up, he saw only curiosity and support in his friends' faces. "A swim dress?" Aileen repeated, her tone neutral. "Like, to wear to the beach?" Beckham nodded, his cheeks burning. I liked how it looked, how it covered more skin, but I've never worn it out. I can't." "Why not?" Lena asked softly. The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Beckham struggled to find the words to express the tangle of emotions he'd been grappling with. Because boys don't wear dresses," he finally managed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everyone would laugh at me." Aileen's eyes flashed with determination. "Screw what everyone thinks," she declared. "If you like it and it makes you feel comfortable, that's all that matters." Lena nodded in agreement. "Beck, we're your friends. We want you to be happy and comfortable in your own skin. If wearing a swim dress does that for you, then we support you 100%. Beckham felt tears prickling at the corners of his eyes. The acceptance and support from his friends was overwhelming, a balm to the anxiety he'd been carrying for months. "You really mean that?" he asked, hardly daring to believe it. "Of course we do," Aileen said firmly. "In fact, why don't you show us? If you're comfortable, that is." Beckham hesitated, but the encouraging smiles from both girls bolstered his courage. "Okay," he agreed softly. "But not here. Can we go to my house?" The walk to Beckham's house was filled with a nervous energy. Lena and Aileen chatted easily, clearly trying to keep things normal, but Beckham's mind raced with a mix of excitement and terror. By the time they reached his bedroom, his palms were sweating. "You don't have to do this if you're not ready," Lena reassured him as he stood frozen in front of his closet. Beckham took a deep breath. "No, I want to," he said, surprised to find that he meant it. With trembling hands, he retrieved the swim dress from its hiding place. "We'll turn around while you change," Aileen offered, already spinning to face the wall. Lena followed suit, giving Beckham a supportive smile over her shoulder. As he slipped the dress over his head, Beckham felt a familiar sense of rightness settle over him. The soft fabric caressed his skin, and he allowed himself a moment to enjoy the sensation before clearing his throat. "Okay," he said softly. "You can look now." Lena and Aileen turned slowly, their eyes widening as they took in the sight before them. Beckham stood awkwardly, his arms wrapped around his middle, waiting for their reaction. "Oh, Beck," Lena breathed, "you look amazing." Aileen nodded enthusiastically. "Seriously, that dress was made for you. You look so comfortable and confident." Beckham felt a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Really? You don't think it looks weird?" "Not at all," Lena assured him. "It suits you perfectly. How do you feel wearing it?" Beckham considered the question, allowing himself to really feel the fabric against his skin, the way the dress moved as he shifted his weight. "I feel free," he admitted. "Like I can finally breathe." The girls exchanged a meaningful look. "Beck by Sass," Aileen said slowly. "Have you ever thought about exploring this more? Not just with swimwear, but with other clothes too?" The question sent a jolt through Beckham's body. He'd pushed away those thoughts, convinced they were too outlandish, too dangerous to entertain. But now, standing in front of his supportive friends, wearing a piece of clothing that made him feel more like himself than he had in months, the possibility suddenly seemed within reach. I've thought about it," he confessed. "But I wouldn't even know where to start." Lena's face lit up with excitement. "We could help you, if you want, that is. We could go shopping, or you could try on some of our clothes to see what styles you like." The offer was tempting, but Beckham hesitated. "What about everyone else? My parents, school? I can't just start wearing dresses all the time." "You don't have to," Aileen reassured him. "We can start small, maybe just wearing some feminine clothes under your regular outfits, or experimenting with makeup when it's just us hanging out." The idea sent a thrill of excitement through Beckham. "You'd really help me with that?" Both girls nodded enthusiastically. "Of course we would," Lena said. "That's what friends are for." For the first time in months, Beckham felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He wasn't alone in this journey. Whatever came next, he had the support of his friends to guide him. The following weeks were a whirlwind of secret shopping trips and clandestine makeover sessions. Lena and Aileen threw themselves into helping Beckham explore his newfound interest in feminine clothing and makeup with enthusiasm and discretion. They started small, with soft, silky underwear that Beckham could wear beneath his usual baggy jeans and oversized sweaters. Every movement reminded him of his secret, but also made him feel more alive than he had in years. Gradually, they expanded his wardrobe. A flowy blouse here, a pair of skinny jeans there. Beckham marveled at how different fabrics felt against his skin, how a well-fitted garment could completely change his silhouette. He began to pay more attention to the way clothes draped and moved, finding a new appreciation for fashion that he'd never experienced before. Makeup was a revelation. Aileen, with her steady hand and eye for color, taught Beckham how to apply eyeliner and mascara. The first time he saw himself with subtly enhanced eyes, he barely recognized his reflection. There was a softness, a glow that he'd never seen in himself before. Lena focused on skincare, introducing Beckham to a world of moisturizers, serums, and face masks. He found himself looking forward to their spa nights, relishing the feeling of taking care of his skin and the quiet intimacy of these moments with his friends. As Beckham grew more confident in his exploration, he began to feel a disconnect between his inner self and the persona he presented to the world. The baggy clothes that had once been a refuge now felt like a costume, hiding the person he was discovering himself to be. It was Lena who first suggested the idea of a more dramatic change. "Have you ever thought about growing out your hair?" she asked one afternoon as they lounged in her room, flipping through fashion magazines. Beckham ran a hand through his short, nondescript brown hair. I guess I haven't really thought about it," he admitted. "Do you think it would look good longer?" Aileen sat up, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Oh my God, yes! You'd look amazing with longer hair. We could style it so many different ways." The idea took root, and Beckham found himself paying more attention to hairstyles, imagining how he might look with flowing locks or a chic bob. He started using Lena's shampoo and conditioner, marveling at how soft and shiny his hair became. As his hair grew, so did his confidence. Beckham began to experiment with more overtly feminine styles when he was alone or with Lena and Aileen. He reveled in the feeling of a skirt swishing around his legs, the way a well-fitted dress hugged his curves. It was during one of these private fashion shows that Aileen made a suggestion that would change everything. "You know," she said thoughtfully, watching Beckham twirl in a floral sundress, "you look so much happier like this. Have you ever thought about transitioning?" The word hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Beckham froze, his mind racing. He'd been so focused on exploring his interest in feminine clothing and presentation that he hadn't allowed himself to consider the deeper implications. I don't know," he said softly, sinking onto the bed. "It's a big step." Lena sat beside him, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "It is," she agreed. "But Beck, we've seen how much happier and more confident you've been these past few months. If this is truly who you are, maybe it's worth considering." Beckham's heart raced as he considered the possibility. The thought of living openly as a woman both thrilled and terrified him. "What about my parents?" he asked, voicing his biggest fear. "They'd never understand." "You don't have to decide anything right now," Aileen reassured him. "And you don't have to do it alone. We're here for you, whatever you choose." That night, lying in bed, Beckham allowed himself to really imagine a future where he lived as a woman. He pictured himself with long, flowing hair, wearing beautiful dresses without fear or shame. The image filled him with a sense of rightness, of coming home to himself. Over the next few weeks, Beckham threw himself into research. He read countless articles and forum posts about gender identity and transition, watched videos of people sharing their experiences, and even reached out anonymously to online support groups. The more he learned, the more certain he became. The discomfort he'd felt in his own skin for so long, the joy he found in feminine expression, it all pointed to a truth he could no longer ignore. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when Beckham finally said the words out loud. She was sitting cross-legged on Lena's bed, surrounded by the friends who had supported her through this journey of self-discovery. I think I'm ready," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I want to transition. I want to live as my true self." Lena and Aileen enveloped her in a tight hug, their eyes shining with pride and love. "We're so proud of you," Lena whispered, "and we'll be right here with you every step of the way." As they pulled apart, Aileen tilted her head thoughtfully. "You know," she said, "if you're going to start this new chapter of your life, maybe you'd like a new name to go with it." The suggestion sent a thrill through Beckham. She'd been so focused on the physical and emotional aspects of her transition that she hadn't even considered choosing a new name for herself. But now that Aileen mentioned it, it felt right. A new name for her true self. "I like that idea," she said, a smile spreading across her face, "but I have no idea where to start." "Well," Lena said, pulling out her phone, "let's look at some name lists and see if anything jumps out at you." For the next hour, the three of them pored over lists of names, calling out suggestions and debating the merits of each one. Some were quickly dismissed with laughter, while others were given more serious consideration. It was Beckham who finally spotted it, a name that seemed to resonate in her very soul. "Evelyn," she said softly, testing the feel of it on her tongue. "What do you think about Evelyn?" Lena and Aileen exchanged glances, then broke into wide smiles. "It's perfect," Lena declared. "It suits you beautifully." "Evelyn," Aileen repeated, nodding approvingly. "I love it. It's elegant and strong, just like you." And so Evelyn was born. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be difficult conversations with family, challenges at school, and the complex process of medical transition. But as she sat there, surrounded by the love and support of her friends, Evelyn felt ready to face whatever came her way. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.